weekend?
Good. Can't complain. Beautiful weather.
That it was. Missing something or is it 7 o'clock? Do we not have a quorum today?
Sorry?
So what, do we not have a quorum today?
Be Danny.
I think I'll walk back there. I think Carol and Jim just walked in. Oh, or not.
Carrie, I'm ready.
I'm ready. It's been a long enough night. I want to get started.
Hey, Mayor. How are you?
Ken, how you doing?
Okay. Mr. Clark,
Hey,
how are you?
good. Hi, Joe.
Hey, Joe.
Sunday? Sunday? I'm with Xander.
Like how late?
Good.
Don't worry, Jim. Well, I guess we gotta get started. Yep.
Talking football?
Are you gonna use this? Executive session. Somebody's all right. Call the meeting to order. Call the roll.
Trustee Fenton. Here. Trustee Dodge.
Here.
Trustee Guerra.
Here?
Trustee Ruzick.
Here.
Trustee Calandrello.
Here. Here.
Trustee Carroll. Mayor Pico.
Here.
Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of September 5th, 2017 regular meeting minutes.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Fenton.
move to approve the minutes of the Board of Trustees meeting of September 5th, 2017.
Second?
Are there any additions or changes? Call the roll.
Trustee Fenton.
Aye.
Trustee Guerra.
Aye.
Trustee Dodge.
Aye.
Trustee Ruzick.
Aye.
Trustee Calandrello.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Orland Park Chamber of Commerce Arts and Drafts raffle license.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Ruzick.
I move to approve issuing a raffle license to the Orland Park Chamber of Commerce to sell raffle tickets during their Arts and Crafts Fair event on Saturday, September 30th, and Sunday, October 1st at Orland Park Crossing.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Ruzick.
Aye.
Trustee Guerra.
Aye.
Trustee Fenton.
Aye.
Trustee Dodge.
Aye.
Trustee Calandrello.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Orland Park Chamber of Commerce Community Expo raffle license.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Guerra.
I move to approve issuing a raffle license to the Orland Park Chamber of Commerce to conduct a raffle at their Community Expo on Saturday, October 14, 2017 at Carl Sandburg High School.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Guerra.
Aye.
Trustee Fenton.
Aye.
Trustee Dodge.
Aye.
Trustee Ruzick.
Aye.
Trustee Calandrello.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Daughters of the American Revolution Proclamation.
Is there anyone here from the Daughters of the Revolution? Okay. So whereas September 17th, 2017 marks the 230th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention, and whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary, and to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate the occasion, and whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuance of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America designating September 17th through 23rd as Constitution Week. Now therefore, I, Keith Peacock, President of the Village of Orland Park in the counties of Cook and Wilkes, State of Illinois, for and on behalf of the citizens, do hereby proclaim the week of September 17th through September 23rd as Constitution Week, and ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideals that the framers of the Constitution had in 1787 by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through this guardian of our liberties, remembering that lost rights may never be regained. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the village to be affixed this 15th day of September in the year 2017. So it's a proclamation.
Sorry, that was a expired. That's giving trustee Fenton. But now it's taken care of.
So the Daughters of the Revolution aren't here, but this proclamation was done and has been sent to them.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor.
It's a big one.
Ready? Community Pride Award.
So I'd like to come down here and recognize some special folks here from the Orland Park Public Works Department. Got a few others here too.
Be there a while.
Want to get them in the right order.
You got it.
So if Tom Morgan and Ron Beaudry would like to come up here, please.
Keith, Mike Junger's on here too. Mike Junger's on here too? No?
So I want to let everyone know what this is about. So most of the people in this room are probably aware of the Hurricane Harvey relief efforts now being the Hurricane Irma that the village has performed. In fact, tomorrow we're taking our second semi down to Houston, heading to the collective in Orland Park. When this was thought of a couple of weeks ago, on Wednesday in my office, Joe Amargo joined me in the office, and we got Margie Owens moving forward in our public information office to start getting the word out within the day we were collecting. Nobody spoke to anybody else about getting it except let's get it in. And when that happened, our Parks and Recreation Department and our Public Works Department stepped up, and they did it all on their own. No one told them what to do.
Jewel Osco.
Community private work for Jewel Osco of Orland Park. Is there a representative from Jewel Osco here? So Tom indicated that Jewel Osco has gone above and beyond in providing relief efforts, cases of water, et cetera, for this effort. So the Village of Orland Park extends heartfelt appreciation to Jewel Osco of Orland Park. We're grateful for your very generous help and support of the village's relief effort for those affected by Hurricane Harvey. Thank you for your continued service to the community. Is there anyone from Costco? So similarly, Costco put forth similar efforts, and the Village of Orland Park extends heartfelt appreciation to Costco Wholesale of Orland Park. We're grateful for Costco's very generous help and support of the village's relief efforts for those affected by Hurricane Harvey. Thank you for your continued service to the community. So again, thank you to Costco. Is there anyone from Lowe's here? Looks like there is. So Lowe's also contributed several pallets of water to the effort, and I think it's, well, how many pallets of water do we get on Lowe's?
I'd say 10 easily.
So again, the Village of Orland Park extends its heartfelt appreciation to Lowe's Home Improvement in Orland Park. We're grateful for those very generous help and support for the village's relief efforts for those affected by Hurricane Harvey. Thank you for your continued service. Thank you very much. And lastly, to Board of Transport. So Board of Transport actually contacted us last week, and they have delivered a semi to us to bring, and driver to bring this down to Houston for tomorrow. So we've been
amazing.
loading that up since Friday. So he's donated, not only a truck, but also a driver, and all of that considerable time to make sure these goods get delivered, because collecting is great, but if you can't get them down there, it doesn't do us any good. And I know that we were worried about that for a little while, so thank you very much for stepping up. The Village of Orland Park extends its heartfelt appreciation to the Board of Transport. We're grateful for your very generous help and support for the village's relief efforts for those affected by hurricane. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Plan Commission appointment. Vice Chairman appointment.
I'll entertain a motion. So apparently no one is going to move to appoint the vice chairman. So I want to remind the trustees that state statute and village ordinances give the village president the responsibility to appoint members to citizen advisory board and commissions. The people choose the village president, and therefore it is the citizens of Orland Park that gave me that responsibility. The positions being replaced today have terms that expired, some of them years ago. It is my responsibility to either reappoint them or replace them. The board does have the ability to advise and consent and approve these choices. This power is not given to keep people on these commissions indefinitely, but to stop the village president from appointing inappropriate people. Examples of this would include appointing someone who is not qualified, who has a conflict of interest, or has the ability to have undue influence in the process. Therefore, it is up to the individual trustees to explain any no vote on an appointee because they should have valid reasons for saying that they are not qualified for an appointment. It is also up to them to make the motion to have these appointed and make a vote, yea or nay.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Dodge.
it's high time to start talking about it. I guess, broadly, I don't particularly like the situation. You know, in particular, there's good people who want to serve on both sides. And I think that unfortunately, you know, at the moment, they've been turned into political footballs, which is pretty discouraging. I've known Paul Aubin for a lot of years. I've known Dave Shalabi. I've known most of the folks on the commissions. And, you know, it's hard to see them kind of go through this. I also know that some of the folks that you've suggested for these positions are certainly qualified and are capable of doing the job. So then, you know, now here we are. And what I'm not particularly happy about is it's pretty clear, and Mr. Fricker, let me know if I misunderstand it, it is the statutory duty, it is the prerogative of the mayor to appoint these positions. It's also obligation of the duty of the board to advice and consent. So I mean, I just commenting openly for the boards, let's have it as a discussion. I wish we could find a way to unstick this situation. I'd rather not see good people who want to volunteer, not have something to do and make a contribution to the Village of Orland Park. I also think that there's some sanity and merit to try and figure out what we want this entire ecosystem of boards and commissions to do before we start doing this. So just, you know, I don't have a motion or a suggestion, solid suggestion I want to offer. It's just frustrating.
Mr. Chairman?
Trustee Ruzick.
So my issue, as you know, Mr. Mayor, when you approached me right after the election about serving as the chairperson of your ad hoc committee to review the commission structure, and I was happy to do so, and that was voted down. Some of the people that we are looking to replace tonight are some of those same individuals who I was happy to serve with and chair the committee. So once again, this is not about the people. It's about, for me personally, it's about we committed to a process to review these commissions. And I don't understand why we would want to pull people who've served on them for a long time off those commissions. I think those are the type of people we would want to have their input when we go through the review process. So for that reason, I'm not going to make the motion tonight, and if somebody does make the motion, I'll be voting against it.
Well, it is apparent that the board will not move these forward. It is a shame. My appointees tonight, so you know, Ed Schuschler, previous trustee, planning commission member, interim mayor, as well as a board member of many local organizations. Pat Zamparelli, lifetime resident, president of the Rotary Club, member of the board of directors for the Chamber of Commerce, and also residential real estate broker. Joe Zatar, manager in the construction and real estate advisory services practice of Ernst & Young. He's a licensed professional engineer with a master's of engineering in civil engineering. Ed Jerome is currently the R&D operations manager at AbbVie. He has an MS in bioengineering from the University of Illinois. He has lived in Orland Park since 1998 and is actively involved in the community as a soccer and basketball coach from 1998 to 2011 in the YMCA, the OYA, and the Orland Park Soccer Club. Lastly, Mike Hardick. His experience includes management experience in business banking and commercial real estate. He's also on the board of directors for the Orland Park Chamber of Commerce. He is a past president of the Orland Park Rotary Club and is the president of Leeds Networking, which is a charitable networking organization. These are very good people who certainly fit the bill for filling these commissions, and essentially the board is making these positions de facto lifetime appointments, which is unfortunate.
Mr. Chairman.
Trustee Guerra.
I somehow get the feeling that had we approved the ad hoc committee that you originally proposed, this would not be happening. The people that you are seeking to replace on some of these commissions, and I understand it is your responsibility to appoint and this board's to advise and consent, but there's not a consistent pattern. It's not because they've been there a long time, because as we all know, there are people on the Plan Commission, they're longer than those that you're seeking to replace. So it's not that you want to replace them. I feel it's retribution because we didn't approve the original ad hoc committee. I think that's unfortunate. We need to, at some point, decide that this is day one, we move forward and we work together. If we approved a commission that trustee Calandrello recommended where we would review all the commissions, then let's do that. And if changes are to be made, we can do it after we review them all. But to pull people arbitrarily because this person's been on for 14 years, this one's been 17, well, why aren't all the long-term people being recommended for replacement? I have to question that. I think that, as Trustee Ruzick said, we need to go ahead and review all these commissions and make recommendations as a group, and then discuss change if there's to be.
Thank you, Trustee Gira. To your point, it's 5 out of 111 expired terms that are being replaced. That's less than 5%.
I'm looking at the Plan Commission specifically.
And also, to be clear, that as you pointed out previously, several times when you said you were against the ad hoc committee, that you don't want that committee to look at people and who to replace. And I said, absolutely they are not, because that's my responsibility. Attorney Fricker, am I correct in saying that all of the terms of everyone on those commissions are expired?
Yes, as I understand it, there have been no recent appointments, so I think they've all expired.
And is my statutory responsibility to either replace them or reappoint them, or I could potentially leave them just sit there until I determine a replacement to go in, correct?
Well, in my opinion, they continue in office until their successors have been appointed and qualified. I just wanted to point out, in this particular matter regarding the vice chairman of the Plan Commission, the ordinance provision, the code provision that goes back many, many years, strangely makes the appointment power jointly by the Board of Trustees and the mayor, with the advice and consent of the Board of Trustees. It doesn't make any sense to me, but that's the way the code has been for many years. The rest of the advisory boards and commissions do put the appointment power in the mayor, and then with the advice and consent of the village board.
Well, maybe that's something that our ad hoc committee, which I still can't figure out exactly how that's going to work, will look at and fix.
Mayor Pico,
Trustee Dodge.
clarifying question for Ken. So Ken, I think we touched on this very, very briefly in a previous meeting. State statute or village ordinance or both that requires the Plan Commission?
The Illinois Municipal Code provides for a Plan Commission. It does not require or mandate a Plan Commission, but it does provide for the office of a Plan Commission and officers to fill that Plan Commission.
So theoretically, we could, as a board, ice cube's chance in hell these days, actually come to an agreement on something. We could get rid of the Plan Commission.
Yes, you could. You would need some sort of a hearing body that would hear zoning appeals, rezonings, variations, special uses, that sort of thing. But yes, to answer your question, a Plan Commission is not mandated by statute.
Okay, and then since it's our ordinance, we could expand the number of people on the board, although it's not necessarily all that effective from a committee hearing. We could make that a bigger entity, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So for my own edification, there's the 911 board and the police pension and fire board, which does the testing, are really what other boards are mandated by state statute now that we've talked about the Plan Commission?
Well, I don't know if I'm prepared to answer all those questions. The 911 board is mandated by statute.
Okay.
The Police and Fire Commission is mandated by statute. The Civic Center, the Auditorium Authority, is mandated by statute.
But if we eliminated that authority, which we have the right to now because it's been around long enough, we could get rid of the Civic Center Authority as well.
2019.
Sorry, Pat?
2019.
2019, okay.
I believe the bonds that were issued have to be fully matured.
All right, but that has
and
a
retired.
date certain where we could choose to say, thank you, State of Illinois, we're dissolving that authority.
At some point, yes, correct.
So commonly known as the Civic Center.
That's correct.
So we've essentially got 3 boards and commissions that are mandated by state statute,
Those are the ones that come to mind right now. Yes.
and the rest are our potential options.
The rest are created by village ordinance. Code
Got it.
provision.
So I guess I'll just put it out there for the group, which is, I came in here tonight hoping that we could figure something out on the fly. It's tough. If not, again, I don't want to see Paul Aubin or Dave Shalabi or some of the new folks get jerked around too many more times by us. I will ask again, maybe there's just a consensus as to a formal motion, Mayor Peacock. Do we want to consider holding these appointments and this issue until after the ad hoc committee gets its work done? And quite frankly, I'm not opposed to open-minded thinking about the expand the Plan Commission, because there's value in that, or do we get rid of it, because there's also value in that as well? Just a thought. So I'll, if with leave of the chair, ask that as an open question for the board.
Well, clearly, these are not being moved, so we should probably move on to the consent agenda.
Okay.
I think we have to read them all yet, though. We have to go through all the motions.
If not, if no one's going to move them. No one's.
How do you want to handle that from a parliamentary
I
procedure?
call them on the agenda.
Okay.
And then if
Call them on the
makes a motion,
agenda.
then they pass to the next agenda item.
Plan Commission appointment?
On to the next one.
Plan Commission appointment? Plan Commission appointment?
The next one's duplicated, by the way.
Is it?
Yeah.
There's two.
Yeah, there's
Two
two
that are
that
the same.
two that are duplicate. 658.
Civic Center appointment? Should I read the duplicate, Ken?
You don't need to read the duplicate, it's a duplicate.
Open Lands Fund Commission appointment? Oh, wait,
They were
the
duplicate.
first one was to continue for the Civic Center.
Yeah. Well,
Ken, is this
yeah,
all
they
right?
didn't continue it, so therefore, you don't go to the next one.
No, I'll read it. I'll do it. I don't know.
That's it. Consent agenda?
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Calandrello.
I'm going to move to approve the items on the consent agenda from A through U.
Second.
Is there any items to be taken off?
Mr. Mayor, I think we need to just briefly describe each item on the consent agenda.
You want me to do that first, or you want me to take them off first? Okay. Item alpha. September 8th payroll approval. Item Bravo, accounts payable for September 6th to September 18th approval. Item Charlie, fiscal year 2016 comprehensive annual financial report acceptance. Item Delta auditing services approval. Item Echo, budget adjustments, open lands approval. Item Foxtrot, Cristo Lane drainage improvement, amendment number 1, outfall modifications proposal. Item Golf, Fernway subdivision roadway and ditch grading improvements, 2017 bid and construction engineering services. Item Hotel, 2017 sanitary sewer cleaning and televising program bid award. Item India, purchase of 10,000-gallon vertical plastic storage tank proposal. Item Juliet, storm sewer grouting payment. Item Kilo, emergency replacements of AC compressors for Sportsplex Gymnasium and Soccer Field HVAC units purchase. Item Lima, Wedgewood Lift Station 2, emergency variable frequency drive replacements proposal. Item Mike, evaluations and reports of building condition Phase 1 proposal. Item November 2017 Hickory Creek Watershed Planning Group annual membership dues payment. Item Oscar, 86th Avenue and Cedar Street culvert replacement project bid award. Item Papa, pavement rejuvenator applications 2017 road maintenance program replay GSB 88 proposals. Item Quebec, 2017 asphalt pavement maintenance, increased scope of work, Crowley Shepherd Asphalt. Item Romeo, 2017 concrete slab raising bid for sidewalk restorations, increased scope of work, Quick Raising Concrete. Item Sierra, Fairway Estates, Maycliff South, Stage 2 Stormwater and Water Main Improvements, GMP proposal. Item Tango, 2017 Land Development Code Amendments to Ordinance. Item Uniform, Training and Development for Village employees. Are there any items to take off of the consent agenda? I would like to remove items Echo, Tango, and Uniform.
Mr. Mayor, could you repeat that? Which items you removed?
Echo, Tango, and Uniform. ET and U.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion on item E.
We got to vote on. We vote on consent first.
No, we take the... I'll entertain a motion on the consent agenda items, absent items Echo, Tango, and Uniform.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Calendro,
I move to approve the consent agenda A through U with the exception of E, T, and U. Please.
Second.
the motion has been moved and seconded. Call the roll.
Trustee Calandrello. Trustee Guerra.
Aye.
Trustee Fenton. Trustee Dodge.
Aye.
Trustee Ruzick.
Aye.
Trustee Carroll. Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Budget adjustment, open lands fund.
Trustee Fenton.
Increasing fiscal year 2017 revenue budget by $2,560,726 and increasing FY 2015 expenditure budget by $2,189,404.
Second.
The item has been moved and seconded. Any questions? I have a question. So we are, it looks like we are transferring funds from the general fund of over $300,000 to the open lands fund. Could someone please explain that?
Director Mampy's here, but it's basically some housekeeping.
Well, what kind of housekeeping?
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I can answer that question. So the majority of this the majority of this budget adjustment is truly due to the way that the revenue from the bond proceeds and the expenditure of those proceeds was booked when we passed the budget in 2016 for 2017. Once we passed the budget and staff went and looked back at all the prior bond issues that we had done for the purchase of open land as part of the $20 million referendum, we realized that the proceeds actually need to be booked in what's called a bond project fund. So they cannot be booked in what we call a component unit fund, which is what open lands is. Open Lands doesn't own the property. The Village of Orland Park owns the property, so the bond proceeds need to be booked in a capital fund, and then we transfer those proceeds to Open Lands so that they can make the payment to the vendor. The $321,000 is the difference between the overall budget of Open Lands for 2017 and the amount of the bond proceeds that we're going to realize. So that's what that adjustment was necessary for. As part of the 2017 budget process, the board approved other expenditures within the Open Lands Fund, such as engineering for the Nature Center, administrative costs that the Open Lands incurs that we fund through a subsidy. And that's what that $321,000 entry is for.
So it's $371,000, and
Didn't have the
it does
last one.
describe here it's a general fund operating subsidy, so we are subsidizing the open lands fund.
Yes, and this is something that's approved by the board on an annual basis as part of the budget process.
Are there any other questions? Call the roll.
Trustee Fenton. Trustee Guerra.
Aye.
Trustee Dodge. Trustee Ruzick.
Aye.
Trustee Calandrello.
Aye.
Trustee Carroll. Mayor Pico.
No.
2017 Land Development Code,
Ordinance number, please.
5221.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Fenton.
move to pass ordinance number 5221 entitled an ordinance amending the Land Development Code of the Village of Orland Park, as amended, sections 2-102, 5-101, 5-106, 5-112, 6-201.1, 6-212, 6-302, 6-305, 6-307, 6-308, 6-310, 6-314, 6-315, 6-406, 6-407.1, and any errors, severe errors.
Second.
The motion has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions? Director Freiling, I have a question, because it says in here what everything's being changed to, but it doesn't really say what's being changed from. So I would just wonder what those amendments, as I know we spoke previously about a different land development code, and we said we do all of these at one time, and so this is like this, it's happened a couple weeks in a row, so I just want to know what, and that's fine that it's happening each week, I just want to know what the changes are in from and to.
Yeah, is this on? So at the last board meeting, the entire board approved this, and you had the strikeout, you had the additions and the strikeouts. This is just coming back for the next meeting. It's the same thing that you guys approved exactly
Okay.
for the last board meeting, but the difference is now you're adopting the ordinance that actually codifies it into the code.
Understood.
So the last meeting, you guys had the strikeout, all the revisions, the red line version, which you guys approved. This is just the technical ordinance adoption. That's why it's a
Thanks for
clean version
clarifying.
tonight.
And I was going to ask you before the meeting, but I know we didn't have time.
Yeah.
Call the roll.
Trustee Fenton.
Aye.
Trustee Calandrello.
Aye.
Trustee Dodge.
Aye.
Trustee Guerra.
Aye.
Trustee Ruzick.
Aye.
Trustee Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Training and development for village employees.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Calandrello.
I move to approve the proposal from the Paul Glover Coaching in the amount of $13,500.
Second.
Any questions? So, Mr. Lamargo, could you just explain what this is for my edification?
Sure. Part of the HPO pillar that the board has adopted, one of those pillars is trying to do the HPO, which is a high-performing organization. Part of that is some leadership workshops and some focus groups with several different departments to talk about for training and provide better communication.
Mayor Pico.
Trustee Dodge.
You know, we talked about this at the committee level, and the thinking is, which I think is correct, that the things that a number of us might be exposed to in the private sector in terms of organizations working better together, and communication and leadership skills and styles, is not necessarily something you find a lot in the public sector. And so, you know, I certainly like the idea to make some investments in some employees, and then, as always, the onus is on Joe that if we make the investment in getting staff trained and moving in a different direction as we kind of get things changed, that the obligation to start improving performance rests solely on Joe's shoulder. So that was the gist of the conversation at the committee. I don't know if Trustee Rusich or Trustee Carroll would like to build on that.
Any other questions or comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Calandrello.
Aye.
Trustee Dodge.
Aye.
Trustee Fenton.
Aye.
Trustee Guerra.
Aye.
Trustee Ruzick.
Aye.
Trustee Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Audio video recordings posted on the village website.
Mayor Pico.
Trustee Dodge.
I'll move to approve the said policy to allow posting of audio-video recordings by the village to the village's website after the written minutes have been approved by the Board of Trustees.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments?
Just a couple. So we would, I think we've talked about this for a while. The village has invested fairly substantially over the years in transparency in terms of all of the public records being on the website and such. And I think, Mayor Pico, when you first got elected, we had started to talk about this. So this kind of architects a fairly high-level policy for both our recordings of public meetings, but also public recordings of of these meetings. So certainly, straightforward enough item. I certainly wouldn't mind, and we'll talk about this, I think, at the committee and at the budget level. We spend, I think, a fair bit of time creating detailed written minutes. If I had my druthers, we would have the recordings, audio and video, tied to the minutes and the items themselves. So a resident who wants to look up and see the video and or hear the audio of exactly how an item was discussed or not, they could easily get to that. I think with Frank and Joe, we've looked at a couple of technologies. So I think we need to take this step tonight to get going in the right direction, but I think there's other ways to find time. And with input from Attorney Fricker, I know we have to do by state statute written minutes of a meeting, but I've never had anybody make a compelling argument that has to be essentially the same approach that we used 100 years ago, which is somebody in the clerk's office listening to the tapes and coming up with a transcription as close to meaningful as possible without being a verbatim transcript. So I wouldn't mind if we keep it in the mix to evolve the way we do things, and I think we could take some time and dollars out of the cost of doing minutes. But that's an idea to be debated at committee. The question before us tonight is pretty simple, but I wanted to put it out there for the full board. Let's not get stuck with a 100-year-old approach to doing minutes. Can we do that legally with the state if we had minutes that were simply the vote count on a given item, or is there? I know there's precedent. Is there requirements to have a summarization of the conversation in the written minutes?
No, that's not a requirement. The minutes by law just need to set forth what action the board actually took
Right.
at the meeting. It doesn't have to include, obviously, it's up to the board. The board dictates what content would be in their minutes, but legally, the only thing that's required in the minutes is what action is taken by the board, the vote and so on. This policy is drafted just as basically a supplemental policy. Someday, maybe our legislation will catch up with modern times and digital minutes, recorded minutes will suffice. But as of right now, the Open Meetings Act requires written minutes, and the municipal code requires written minutes.
Mayor Peacock?
Trustee Dodge?
Ken, I think you're an optimist that anytime soon out of Springfield, we're going to get
I'm
anything
sure I
like
am.
forward technology leadership. So, the idea, and we'll continue to investigate this, so if you are particularly interested in item alpha, to quote a local authority, you can go right to that item on the minutes and the agenda, click into it, and you will get the video and audio recording tied to that discussion, and then off you go. So there's a couple ways we can make this easier on our residents and people doing the research, but it'll take a while to get there. So this is the first step.
And
Mr.
Trustee
Chairman?
Dodge, if I could just add to that, the program that we use right now, Legistar, does have that capability, but there is and I'd have to defer to Director Florentine on the cost, but there was a pretty high price tag on that because we had as you had stated that we had looked at that back in June as one of the options. So exactly what you're there does have that technology, just cost out.
Carol.
Mayor Pika?
Trustee Rizek?
So I think this is a good first step, so I'm all in favor of it. A couple of questions, though, I have. If we were to videotape, it would be apparent to everyone here that you were being recorded and videotaped because you'd see a cameraman in the background. Do we want to make some kind of notice, post it somewhere so that whoever chooses to get up and talk, if they weren't here tonight, they're not going to know that whatever comments they make at the podium will be on the website in a couple of weeks?
Probably should, protect ourselves, right, legally.
Well, and for people who choose to talk, if they don't realize that they're going to be posted on the website in a few weeks, we should notify them somehow.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Carroll?
you might even want the form that we ask speakers to fill out before they address the board, have something on that as well, so they have further notice in addition to whatever we post.
And I have one more request for Frank. Frank, is it possible for you to get sort of an automated Photoshop technology so Mike and I can have back our hair? Is that doable or no? Is that too much?
Poor guy's going for the microphone. Thought we were serious.
Thanks, Frank.
I'm not saying anything, but he moved pretty fast out of that question.
Yeah, exactly.
Talk to Brian Erlacher.
Yeah, we can try.
Any other questions or comments? So Attorney Fricker, I have a question. Why do we need to wait until after the minutes are posted? I ask this question because several towns currently post them the next day, post the video, and then they approve the minutes in 2 weeks at their next meeting.
Legally, we don't have to. I mean, legally, we can post them immediately thereafter. I mean, there are many municipal meetings that are broadcast simultaneously on Comcast and other media, so it can be done. It was just, the request to me was to put a provision in there that it wouldn't be posted until after the minutes were approved.
Trustee Dodge?
Yeah, I know, I was just going to say, Mayor Pico, I don't have a problem with, if we're going to start recording a public meeting, it's a public meeting, put it up pretty much,
So,
it doesn't,
so I would entertain an amendment to the motion then to say post them the next day after our meetings.
Ken, do you want me to just amend the motion? Or do you want to call this and then we'll amend it, or direct staff to revise the policy and bring it back? I don't mind if we table it or...
My recommendation would be to direct staff to revise the policy so we have it in a format that we can all agree on, rather than just amending the motion on the board.
I got it, thanks. So Mayor Pico, so then, Joe, it's clear the direction the board wants?
Yeah, so we'll amend the policy, and we will start putting the audio recordings starting tomorrow on our website.
All right, so then-
I talked to Director Florentine. That's not an issue. We'd probably make it a podcast.
Okay, so should I simply withdraw the
So
motion for
just
consideration?
just a voice vote on the policy to post it the next day. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then, Ken, do you want us to withdraw this motion, let it sit for a
I
minute?
think
or
we still need to pass the motion, this motion, because it
Okay.
says direct the policy, but we've just directed them to amend.
All right, got it. Call the
Are
roll.
there any other questions? Call the roll.
Trustee Dodge?
Aye.
Trustee Carroll?
Aye.
Trustee Fenton?
Aye.
Trustee Guerra?
Aye.
Trustee Ruzick?
Aye.
Trustee Calandrella?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Aye.
Centennial Park Aquatic Center zero depth pool filtration pump repair.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Gira.
I move to approve the quote from Thomas Pump in the amount not to exceed $9,572 for the repair work of the Centennial Park Aquatic Center zero-depth pool filtration pump.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Guerra?
Aye.
Trustee Calandrella?
Aye.
Trustee Fenton?
Aye.
Trustee Dodge?
Aye.
Trustee Ruzick?
Aye.
Trustee Carroll?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Aye.
Mayor's report.
I have nothing.
You had one person sign in.
Two.
Call them non-scheduled visitors.
Yeah.
So now non-scheduled visitors, John Mackinnon, and just a reminder to our speakers, the limit's 3 minutes.
Just wanted to make a brief comment, I guess, about sales taxes in the village. I've been trying to keep up on the Cook County, whatever that tax is called, beverage tax. I don't know if it's in force, if it's being adjudicated or whatever, but in any case, I had something that was did something that was a real eye-opener today, for me anyway. Went to McDonald's on LaGrange Road, and all I did was buy a large Coke, large Diet Coke, and it's a good deal, it's $1. When I went to pay, it was $1.33. That was a real eye-opener. I asked for a receipt. I never asked for a receipt at any fast food restaurant. So on the receipt, there's 10 cents, 10% sales tax, which gets spread out wherever it gets spread out, and that's I guess just a tax on everything. Then on the receipt is the beverage surcharge of 23 cents. So on a $1 purchase, there's 33 cents of tax, and it's an eye-opener. All I want to say is, it kind of discourages me from spending any money in Orland Park and Cook County, not just this crazy beverage tax, but 10% sales tax, I think is exorbitant. If it's not the highest in the country, it's certainly one of the highest. Fortunately, I'm able to make purchases outside of Cook County, whether it's DuPage or Kane County, and I'm going to continue to do that. As a matter of fact, whether it's online, whether it's Amazon or somebody else, I can have things shipped to Kane County. I think it's 6.5%, something like that. and over the course of a year, it adds up. So in any case, if the trustees have any, I'm not sure what's happening with that beverage tax, please do something to get rid of it. I don't think I'm alone in not wanting to pay those taxes, but I'm not going to. So that's one thing, try to get that thing stricken and see what we can do about that 10% sales tax. Thanks.
Any comments before I comment?
Mayor Pico. So the mayor and I have had a chance to chat about this. I don't know if I told the board. So my wife and I were at Burger 21 the other day, and I asked for an unsweetened iced tea. And I said, that can be applied to the tax. And then the owner came out and we started chatting, and he explained the way Cook County is levying the tax, and since all of his beverage went through his fountain, he has no way with his register system to not charge me the tax. And I had a conversation with folks at Papa Joe's, and it's kind of the same animal. So the way the county is doing this is they're leveraging the tax on the bags of syrup that make the Cokes and such. And it's just pretty damned irritating to echo the sentiment, I think, from the guest speaker. And what's really frustrating for me is I did consulting for retailers for a lot of years, and what they don't get downtown at Cook County is they've lost the beverage purchases. They've also lost the entire basket. So that particular day when I couldn't not pay that tax, my wife and I both ordered waters just to make the protest point. Probably healthier for us anyway, but there you have it. And it's frustrating because especially in a place like Cook County, they're driving people out of purchasing in Orland, which is not helpful for them, but a hell of a lot more impactful for us. So it's really frustrating that Cook County's doing this because it's just another example of stunning underthink.
Mr. Chairman?
Trustee Ruzick?
Obviously, I totally support the mayor's efforts, and I think he's going to talk about it, to exert some pressure as a community on the county to repeal that tax. Unfortunately, we're going to be with it for a little bit of time, at least a couple of months, I would say. But I think we as a community are going to feel the effects if it's not repealed, and we're starting to see it already. So,
Trustee Benton?
To go along with what Trustee Dodge said, in the same little strip center, I was at Noodles and Company last week, and I specifically asked for an unsweetened tea, and they did do an override on the register, so I wouldn't be charged the tax. So Noodles and Company and McDonald's does do the unsweetened. You don't get charged the extra tax. But I will admit that I did go to Will County the other day to purchase some lemonade, raspberry, and regular, because I was not about to pay the Cook County tax on it. But I didn't fill my basket with only 3 other things.
So is this like a tea party, Kathy?
Yes, but with lemonade.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Calandrello?
I just want to first of all support the mayor that he's going down the county board and helping us out. You did a very good presentation. I watched it live. Also, I think most of you know, we all passed, the board supported a resolution. Myself and everyone, we support the resolution. There was no votes on repealing that tax. I mean, Cook County doesn't know what happens when you go across the street to Will County or DuPage or neighboring counties. So I think I support the mayor and his effort, and the board supports his effort. And the best thing we are doing is keeping control of our own house, keeping our overhead low, 7 cents per dollar, of your property tax. I don't think any community can say that. And that's what we're doing. All we can do is what we control, and we're controlling your property taxes, and I'm pretty proud of that. So we're being good stewards here, and let's see if any of that stuff rubs off. But I appreciate the mayor going up there. I know let's make sure that our house is good, and it is. Thank you.
Trustee Gura?
Yeah, I'd like to add to what everyone else has said, that I too don't like the idea of spending so much money in tax just to have a soft drink, and when my grandkids are there, that's supposed to discourage me from serving Gatorade to the kids. That's the silliest thing I ever heard. I can still have a Snickers without anybody making a comment. It just doesn't make any sense. The only thing I would caution you is, I understand going across to Will County to buy the soft drinks, but leave your basket here. We still need our sales tax revenue. We can't be responsible for the actions of the county. Wish we were, but we are dependent on our sales tax as well.
So I appreciate everyone's comments. As many of you know, and as Trustee Calandrello alluded to, I was down on the floor the day they tried to pass the resolution to rescind this tax and earlier last week. And so I testified. I sat for a few hours waiting to testify, and then they tried to call me very quickly after with kind of no heads up. It's a very small room, so people don't all stand in there and wait. It was an interesting experience from my perspective, but I'll give you a kind of a summary of my testimony. I can't remember it word for word, but the first thing I pointed out to the board members, because they apparently don't know where Orland Park is that we have, our southern border is actually Will County. It's in Will County. So we have a portion of our town that is in Will County. Additionally, our western border is the border of Cook County and Will County. And as I pointed out to them, I could actually stand in Cook County in Orland Park and throw a baseball through the window of gas stations, restaurants, and convenience stores that sell pop. And I could probably hit a golf ball down to a grocery store. I also pointed out to them that we are the third largest tax generator for Cook County. Only Chicago and Schaumburg are more. So we are very important to the county, and they are hurting themselves and us. They're killing our businesses, costing between $8,500 to $10,000 a year to administer this tax for a small business owner. For example, a hot dog stand, it might make $70,000 or $80,000 a year. That's a 10% tax. I asked President Preckwinkle how she would like to have $17,000 lopped right off of her salary, and if that would hurt a little bit. It's driving people out. We have businesses that are transferring people from Cook County to Will County. That we know. So after I was done, I was asked two questions by Commissioner Boykin, who is opposed to this. He first asked me if I had any actual numbers to confirm the tax revenue that we've lost. And as I pointed out, the sales tax revenue lags several months, so we don't have that information. But anecdotally, I know that businesses are transferring employees away because they're not as busy. So it doesn't take a genius to figure out that we're losing tax revenue. Then they asked me about health care benefit, because the proponents for this say it's about the health of people. To that I say, if that's the case, then why are we taxing V8 juice? Why are we taxing flavored water that has no sugar added? Additionally, if that's the case, why aren't we taxing ding-dongs and ho-hos and cakes and processed goods and canned foods and everything else that other people think aren't healthy? When will the county and the government get out of our pockets? When will they leave us alone and let us make our own decisions and our own health decisions? We've been able to do it for, I think the Constitution, what did we say earlier today, 230 years ago, as of yesterday. So I think we have the capability of doing that. So I pointed that out to them as well. And as many of you know, I was then interviewed afterwards, and I will continue to push. It was, just to let everyone know where it sits, Commissioner Morrison didn't believe he had the votes to get it rescinded, so he moved it to the Finance Committee where they will discuss it, where they're making an effort to get the votes. My concern is that even if they get the votes to rescind it, I don't think they will be able to override President Preckwinkle's veto. I also, through my interviews, pointed out that Michael Bloomberg is funding these ads, if you've noticed. He's also promised to fund the campaigns of the people who stick with it and vote to keep this tax in place. To me, that's pay for play. And it shouldn't be going on. And Michael Bloomberg should head back to New York and stay where he came, and he can keep his sodas down to 20 ounces in New York City. So, the next speaker, is there any other comments to that? Next speaker is Heather Cahoon.
Hi, Board. I just wanted to talk about how disgusting it was to see you guys back and forth on committees today. You're elected officials. you're wasting our time here. You're playing this as a political game, and you're not doing it for the betterment of Orland Park. We taxpayers are here for the betterment of Orland Park. You guys aren't coming together. You aren't trying to work together at all. You're elected. Like, my suggestion would be to add for your committee search, get a group of just concerned Orland residents that could help you decipher on whether the trustees guy is good or if Mayor Picow's guy is good. You know, we have to come together to make Orland great. There's so many things that Orland has going for it. Last night, you guys should have had a huge party at Sandburg because one of our kids was on the Emmys. There's so many things happening in Orland that if you worked for the greater good of Orland instead of with political differences, maybe we could make a difference. You know, there's a lot of great things happening in Orland, and you guys are fighting over who's on the committee, and you know what I'm saying? You're making it a political thing, and it shouldn't be. It should be about making Orland great, because Orland is a great town. So you guys need to work together because you are all elected. And as you've seen from history, it's easy to get people out. All you need is a voice and money. That's all you need. So just work together, and that's my hope for you guys. Work together. I came here today and you guys gave awards to a lot of people for doing great things. Work together and do great things for Orland so that we can all give you an award. Good job, good job. You know, that's you guys have to work together. Bottom line, because you're wasting our time here. Because I missed the past 2 meetings and nothing has happened on the committee, and you're back at the same square where you were. Nothing's happened. You're wasting our time too. And I know your time is important also. So try and work together, guys. It's what we want. It's why we want Orland to be great. Work together.
Thank you for your comments. Any questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Calangelo.
I agree with everything you said, and I can fully tell you that we're trying our best to work with everyone on this board. And just, I didn't state my position, and I thought long and hard about my position, and actually got sick over it, asked my wife about what's going on with the board right now. I've tried to work with everyone on this board. I've talked with everyone on this board about a lot of issues. The mayor and I disagreed with how to review the committee process, the committee process and the ad hoc committees and the advisory committee. What happened after we had this agreement? I sat down with every trustee and we worked out a process, which is next week we're going to fine tune and make sure that we have public input and transparency. So we are working together after we have our differences up here. I can say that as much as possible. As much as, say, any board of us, board members have a disagreement, afterwards we talk about everything. And just so people know why I did what I did today, I just think that since we are agreed on working on the ad hoc committees and looking at all the advisory committees together, it was premature to start moving bodies around, people that we want to hear what they want. So that was, and also some of the movements would have created some issues with membership, particularly Opens Lands, and that I thought it was just, why don't we wait, figure out what our plan is, and then have legal, and we can make it all a good package. So I just thought it was premature this time, but I agree with everything you said. And I told this to every board member, including the mayor, that I pick up for all board members, I call all board members, and we're with you. I think we need to talk about real things and not talk about this stuff. But, you know, when you have to do the right decision, that's why I did it today. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman?
Trustee Ruzick.
So to your comments, I would like to say, I think we are working together. Although the press will make a headline about the couple of issues we've disagreed on over the last couple of months. I think if you look, probably 98% of the items that have come before the board have been nearly unanimous decisions, including, you know, the mayor supporting. So I think it's fun for the press to talk about, and it's fun for people and us as trustees to talk about, you know, the differences, the few differences we have, but I think as a board we are working very well together.
Any other comments? Thanks again for your comments. Is there anyone else that wants to speak?
Good evening. My name's Virginia Williams. I live in Orland Park in the Gulfview subdivision. I have a couple of questions for you. If you wanted these people in this commission job, why wasn't it taken care of years ago when their terms were expired? Anybody got an answer? That's unfinished business. To leave it sit, and then somebody else wants to change things around and you don't want it. Now, are we political here? Are they Democratic and you don't want anybody else in because they're not Democrats? Because if you are, shame on you. Shame on you. This town was based on regular, ordinary people. People came in with horses and buggies to get this town going. And you're gonna sit there and tell me that you're doing the best you can when, how many years? What was the longest year? 20? 15 years these people have been in this commission job and you let it go? I'm sorry. Something needs to change. If you can't get behind that desk like I asked you months ago to get out and talk to real people, you're in big trouble next election. I'll tell you that right now. Because the people that have backed you are not going to back you anymore. We're at a standstill. We don't want to be at a standstill anymore. We want to go forward. You want high-class stores. You want the best of everything from Orland Park. How far is that going to go past 143rd Street? Are you going to stop there and run small businesses out of town? You said the Lee family wanted out of there because of debt. I know them personally. Orland Park pushed them out, just like they did everybody else. You can sit up there, you can tell yourself and tell us whatever you want, but there's a lot of people that know differently. I'm at the point where I'm ready to go around from neighbor to neighbor all over Orland Park to find out how they view things, because you people can't get a decision made here for all of us. I'm sorry for my voice. That's how disgusted I am.
Anybody else?
Mike Henry, two things. On your minutes on the board meeting, the rest, there's already software out there. Instead of looking at the side of municipalities, we do it live for board meetings all the time. We do voice recognition. We follow the voice and automatically dump it out. And it's done for the SEC. And we do it in 20 seconds.
There you go.
So that software is all readily available. Just look on the other side, the business side, not the government side, because everything in the government side's 50 years behind.
At best.
Amen.
Make sure that you catch Frank before you leave. Make sure we get that reference. Thank you.
Second, actually, this is for the board's attorney. You made a statement I want to understand. Is the village, the people of Orland Park, taking on liability because the board is not properly appointing people to fill these positions? If they expire, do we have valid commissions, or are we opening ourselves up to lawsuits, or can anybody come in and do it? I want to know that, that I don't care if they can act like 3-year-olds as far as I'm concerned, but what I don't want to be in the position of is the taxpayers of Orland Park getting sued by a big developer because 5 people in the planning commission terms expired. So you're saying, in your legal opinion, your law firm's legal opinion, we are not taking on liability that could indebt the citizens of Orland Park for lawsuits based on developers and people suing because we don't have a planning commission as required by our codes.
So Attorney Fricker, you can respond, or if you want me to, either way.
Well, from my standpoint, to my knowledge, the village is not taking on any liability that they wouldn't ordinarily have. There's no case that I'm aware of where a village or a municipality has been sued because members of a plan commission, for example, or an advisory board, their terms have expired.
Okay,
So in my opinion, no, there's no liability assumed or being taken on by the
So my understanding, and this comes not only from Kleinthorpe and Jenkins, but others, is that the terms have expired, and people stay in those seats until they're replaced. It is my
that written in the
prerogative
exact
and
code, or-
responsibility. It's my prerogative and responsibility to appoint people to replace them, and it is the board's job to advise and consent.
Okay, but that's where my whole question becomes is, the moment the mayor follows his legal duty and appoints somebody or recommends it, where does that keep going? Because now we're in the position of the mayor has said he wants a different person on the board. Where does this legally put us for the person that he was going to be taken off the board if they put a vote on?
The board can postpone that and not do that ad infinitum, so they can do it forever. That's their right.
Okay, so we're not taking on legal liability here,
Not in my opinion, no.
not in your opinion. That's it.
Are there any other questions or comments or statements? Okay. Board comments. So board comments, Trustee Guerra?
I would only say that, Ms. Williams, I believe you wanted to lecture me. I've been working for this village at a volunteer basis since 1982. I will not be lectured to by you or anyone else. I love this town, and do we want to bring in the best? Absolutely. And this board works very hard to do just that. So think what you like, and as far as the Lang Lee restaurant, I believe is the one you referred to, they passed away, and the children did not want to continue with the business. Their daughter is a nurse, and their son was a professional, and they were bought out. They weren't forced out, they were bought out. If you look at the businesses that were in the triangle, each one that relocated in the village has been far more successful than they were in their original location. I know there's some people that will never believe that, but if you go to Mirabali's, go to the barber shop, go the florist, the bakery, my goodness, they doubled their size. They're successful businesses. Who is? Oh, Randy's Market, that's a business decision they made. I'm referring to the bakery. I'm not.
Let's restrict our comments now to board comments and not have interaction back and forth with the citizens and the board at this time.
I'm done.
Trustee Carroll.
No comments. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Trustee Dodge.
Just a couple. As everybody saw, I tried to find a bit of a compromise. Wasn't taken, but I promise to keep trying because, as you can tell, I'm past losing hair about this, so we'll keep pushing to see if we can't get a compromise. And part of the problem is, we're all Americans. We've all seen this. I mean, let's be clear. When Obama was first elected, there were folks on the other side of the political aisle that did everything they could to, if you will, put their will on because they had the right to advice and consent. If I'm not mistaken on the history, when Dan McLaughlin first got elected, he made some replacements, and he had a board that supported him. So the challenge that I think I'd like everybody to hear that we're going to continue to work on is everybody that is on these commissions is a good person. Everybody that Keith has suggested to serve is a good person. I think there's a solution out there, so we're going to keep grinding towards it, and we'll get to a place as we settle into a new normal where the prerogatives of the office of mayor are respected, even if some don't necessarily feel comfortable with the person who's currently in that chair. Let's not play patty cakes anymore about what's going on here. And I think that, you have my commitment that we'll keep grinding on this one, whatever form that takes, because this is, as I've said previously, this is about the will of the people of Orland Park. Election have consequences. It was a duly contested election. Dan McLaughlin lost, Keith Peacock got elected. And if my math serves, a fair number of the people that voted for you, Mayor Peacock, also voted for me. So I think the will of the people is to figure this out. Enough of a speech.
Trustee Fenton.
I don't want to get in any arguments with anybody, but one of the comments that was made that brought up about Democrat, Republican. I'm about the most independent person sitting up here. And this board has always been a nonpartisan board. So I just want to make that comment. President Pekow has already suggested, and we approved 13 new appointments to commissions. I know that there are many, many other openings on other commissions that have slots waiting to be filled. There's nobody sitting in those positions at all. And I truly believe that the issue was that, as other board members have stated, is that these are good people, and it doesn't make any sense why you'd want to take good people off. And as far as the other people who were supposed to be appointed, there's a lot of other places, and it's not, as it's been stated, as Trustee Ruzick stated, it's not about the people. We've already appointed 13 people, 7-0. Any of these people, I know a couple of them, but as Trustee Ruzick also stated, that to just start targeting individuals, taking them off for whatever reason, and that's strictly up to President Pekow's, decision, whatever he wants to do. But I know this board wants to work together. We're trying, and I guess everything falls to everybody's own personal opinions. But this has always been a nonpartisan board, and it will remain a nonpartisan board, as far as I'm concerned.
Trustee Calandrello.
No comments, thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
Trustee Ruzick.
No comments, Mr. Mayor.
So I have a few comments. So first, I want to thank the staff for their hard work on the mayor's golf outing. Parks and Recreation did a great job. It was a great day. It was a lot of fun, even if I only got to see the 18th tee box. This outing dates back to Mayor Mel Dugan, who used it to fund parks, including the Humphrey Pavilion. Mayor Owens then used it to fund the Veterans Memorial. Mayor McLaughlin used it for open lands. I am announcing that my cause will be veterans programs. There are two groups that benefit from this. First, our veterans. Second, our residents, as the beneficiaries and Veterans Commission will be responsible for hosting the tournament, and it will no longer be part of the village budget, and we will have minimal participation from our staff, except as on a volunteer basis, so as not to, we already have a strained budget, so to take that out of our budget process. So there's winners all around on that. As I pointed out earlier, I believe the power to advise and consent is to stop a village president from appointing people who are unqualified or have a conflict of interest. The board has never voted no. I don't think any of these board members have ever voted no that I can find on any appointment, or stopped an appointee from being put in place. Clearly, as previously noted, these appointees were well qualified, and nobody noted a conflict of interest. I will also point out, it's been brought to my attention that former Mayor McLaughlin was informed that all of these terms were expiring, and he elected not to reappoint them because he thought, I'm assuming, that that's my responsibility and it wouldn't be appropriate. I would agree, and if I'm in that position, I will do the same thing because it would be my successor's responsibility. It's a responsibility given to the village president by both state law as well as village ordinance. Apparently, for some of the board members, Mayor McLaughlin's appointee terms don't expire because they can stay there they're basically making them de facto lifetime appointments. That's a power that the Illinois law does not give our trustees. I have to ask myself why. Why are they fighting so hard to keep people in positions when their terms have expired? It begs the question of the reason and what the agenda is. Trustee Fenton pointed out some of the replacements. Well, to point out that two of the people being replaced tonight were board members. And the reason being is that, well, the attorneys have indicated it's not technically a conflict of interest. I do believe that it's the perception of the conflict of interest when you vote on a commission, then it goes to your committee and you vote, and then you go to the board and it votes. And I have entertained the idea, and hopefully this will come out of the ad hoc committee, that if we feel there's a need for a liaison position, we can have one. I would say that if a commission goes directly to a committee as it is, they probably have a liaison already, but in some cases they do not. But the election's over. it's time for all of us to move on and focus on the challenges Orland Park faces. And I will agree with Carol Ruzick that we have been doing that on many other issues. So there are some issues we disagree, and we're going to continue to disagree. And we've had 4-3 votes and 6-1 votes and 5-2 votes and a lot of 7-0 votes. I consider that to be healthier than the last 2 years of all 7-0 votes. I think it's good to have these discussions. Might be uncomfortable for some, but this is the way our process works. But we have a lot of issues we face, a lot of issues that are external to Orland Park. The state of Illinois has placed burdens on us that will take between $500,000 and $1.5 million out of our budget next year. Cook County has instituted a soda tax that was previously brought up, which is driving business away, making it hard for businesses to operate and driving people away from purchasing in Cook County because Will County is literally 1 foot away from Orland Park. And in some cases, actually in Orland Park. Unfortunately, we don't have any retail locations in Will County. What will come out of our budget meetings is our sales tax revenue projections for this year. They were conservative. They're conservative for next year. And they're still down 3% year to date. That's another $800,000 out of our budget. These are real issues that we have to face. We're only going to be able to meet these challenges if we work together. On the bright side, I think it's clear our residents understand that. For example, our Economic Advisory Board and their Development Advisory Board, and that's actually something that the board agreed on. And for those of you who mentioned Republicans and Democrats, I actually appointed people that campaigned for Mayor McLaughlin onto that advisory board. There's people who are Democrats, there's people who are Republicans, because I really don't care. I just want qualified people sitting on that board. But we had our first meeting last week. I don't think that anyone would be surprised that who they supported or didn't support has never been discussed. Shocker. Because the election's over. They're all excited to work together, and we have some very interesting projects on the horizon, some we can't talk about yet, but we'll be able to talk about soon, hopefully. Our staff also clearly understands the need to work together. Nowhere is that more evident than the hurricane relief efforts. You saw tonight the awards that we gave out, and I could have awarded to so many other people. These are just individuals that were specifically called out. The people that were honored were just a few of many, many people who have contributed. Also, not to be forgotten, our neighbors understand the need to work together. The mayors of Tinley Park, Mokina, Palos Park, Homer Glen, and others have all worked with me on issues already that are important to all of our communities, and that's in the short time since I started office. I pledge that I will continue to work in the best interest of the citizens of Orland Park to meet the challenges that we face. Thank you very much. Move to executive session.
Mr. Chairman.
Trustee Dodge.
Move to enter into an executive session for approval of minutes, purchase or lease, of real property for the use of the village, setting a price for the sale or lease of village property.
Second.
Call the roll.
Trustee Dodge?
Aye.
Trustee Calandrella?
Aye.
Trustee Fenton?
Aye.
Trustee Guerra?
Aye.
Trustee Ruzick?
Aye.
Trustee Carroll?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Aye.